Hi, let's talk about goal setting as part of the overall financial planning process. How do you set goals and what do your goals look like? If you don't know where you're going, how do you know when you'll get there? In other words, if you don't know what your goals are, how much they're going to cost, how long they're going to last for, and how far away, how do you really know if you're on track? So if you're saving in your 401k or IRAs on an annual basis, and it may be that you're saving 4 or 5% a year, are you really saving enough in order to meet your goal of retirement? So if your retirement is $100,000 a year in today's dollars, for instance, just for round, simple numbers, what's $100,000 a year look like in 20 or 30 years? So if inflation is 3% a year, $100,000 a year could be $103,000 that you need next year. It could be the $106,000 you need the year after. So what does $100,000 looking like in 15 years is important. So developing a budget, which we'll talk about in a different video, really is important to figure out what your core living expenses are now. So do you have kids at home? Are they going to be gone, hopefully in retirement? Are you going to upsize or downsize? Are you going to live in a different state? Figuring out what your core expenses are is important to see what that's going to look like in 15, 20, 30 years, or it could be 5 years. In addition to retirement income, you want to think of things outside of that, like travel. Is travel an extra $5,000 a year, or is it $10,000 a year? Do you like to go overseas? Do you like to take cruises? Do you like to stay local? What's that look like? Are you going to do that for 10 or 15 years in addition to retirement? So if you retire when you're 65, are you going to travel until maybe age 80 and then slow down? Those are things to think about just to make sure you have enough to support those goals. You also want to think about, do you want to have a second home? Do you want to have a home in a different state where it's warmer and you stay there 6 months a year? Do you want to have a vacation condo somewhere or timeshare? Think about what your expenses are or what you want to do in order to set money aside for that as well. In addition to that, college goals are important, whether that's your child or a grandchild. Thinking about what college will be in 18 years is kind of mind-numbing sometimes. But if a college costs $25,000 a year, in today's dollars for 4 years, that's $100,000 you'll need. College costs are a little bit different in regards to inflation, but if you set a goal of an Ivy League school, it may be different than if you set a goal for a state school or 2 years at a junior college and then a state school. So thinking about what those costs are, how much you're willing to pay, how much you're expecting the student to pay is an important thing. You also want to think about leaving a legacy. So how much money do you really want to leave your kids? Do you want to leave them some to be comfortable? Do you want to leave them a lot? More importantly, do you have money you want to give to a charity? Do you have a cause that you care about? So is that a church? Is that an animal shelter or some other music and arts program? Thinking about those things now and funding them, whether it be in a donor advised fund or just leaving money in your will or from your IRA, is important as well. So think about your goals, what they are, what's important to you. It's not that they will never change, but you'll need to update them, as you go. But basically setting a goal so you know what you're saving for is a very important step of the financial planning process. Thanks.